Hey everybody, thanks for coming back to the page. Tonight we're going to be talking about the original trilogy soundtrack anthology box set that came out in 1993 and was the first release of the soundtrack to be basically really comprehensive of all of the material, or most of the material, that was recorded for the movies, and in their original forms prior to the special edition. Um, and They represent the best quality of the sound of the soundtracks up until that point, and in my opinion, still better sounding than any version of them since, even into the special editions when they're even further remastered. And I mean, which they all sound good, but the special editions, I don't know, something about the mastering and the processing of them just seems a little more sterile to me than these versions here. Um, and Of course, some of the music cues that were added for the special editions are in the special edition soundtracks. And although I do like the special editions, and I do, occasionally watch them, um, if we're going there, I'm going there. I'm just going to be, have that purist love for the theatrical versions of the original versions of the films and the music for them. And these versions of the soundtrack finally sound like I think they deserve. I mean, the previous editions of the soundtracks, when they were on vinyl, number one, were not complete because vinyl, being the format that it was, and as much music was created for those movies, would have just been immense box sets of discs to have. It's not that they couldn't have done it, but they just, were aware of, the marketing and just decided to release um, like just more concise versions of the soundtracks with just the key points. And I don't have it out right now, but I do have the original 2 disc Star Wars A New Hope. Well, before it was A New Hope, when it was originally Star Wars, soundtrack on vinyl. That had been beaten to death and played to death, and but I still have it. But but even then, even though vinyl is physically a superior format in that you're dealing with original analog sound transferred to analog sound on the disc, so you're not losing some of the integrity of analog to analog, because it's still a contiguous, uninterrupted, organic method of sound. So one of the reasons that that's important is when you're dealing with sound, excuse me, the quality of it is just inherently diminished when you start digitizing things. Even though I like this format, and I'm talking about the CD format, I'll get back to it in a minute. I just wanted to kind of just put a little audio history into why these are, what they are for me. But going back to vinyl, I mean, the reason vinyl sounds the way it does is because it is just uninterrupted, organic recording of sound, where a digital format is individual snapshots, if you want to say that, of sound played in sequence, very much like a film is, individual frames of audio that are pieced together. So with that, you're losing in a subtle but important quality of sound as you're sectioning off the sound from each other. So what it just makes definitely a difference in the overall feeling of what you're listening to. So just in its just general form, I mean, digital, it's a snapshot of a piece of sound, it's plain and simple, and then the next thing you hear is a snapshot of the next sequence, or the next piece of sound, and the next piece of sound. So you're not hearing what is in itself in real life an organic, real sound, uninterrupted sound. You're hearing elements of that sound that are recorded in little segments, run together at a speed that sounds like it's flowing, just again like film, or like images on a notepad when you flip them together and they look like they're moving. You're getting the sense of that movement, you're getting the sense of that sound, but in reality, it's not actually a real translation down of the real sound. So the technology has come a long way in compensating for that. In that a lot of oversampling and things like that kind of take that idea, a little bit of the sound beforehand, a little bit of the sound after, and adding that into the signal chain, so you hear what sound you might be missing from the individual snapshots. But getting more to the point, though, is just there's always going to be an inimitable quality to an analog sound, and there's subtleties in that sound that if you hear it that way before and then you hear it another way that's not that way, you can tell the difference. And this just makes up the entire feeling of what you're listening to and the overall experience. So when digital came along and CDs came along, the benefits obviously being size, handling, clarity of the sound will definitely be more prevalent, in the sense that you don't have physical needle on a vinyl contact with any dirt or specks or static. Very clean sound. So digital does prevail in that method, and functionality. There's chapter skipping, things like that. But through all the iterations of the soundtracks as the years have gone by, and there's been a few, as technology and production gets better, they get better, but they always were. But the main thing is they were never really complete, or really had a lot of the elements of the music that you remember hearing in the films. And again, the quality was not quite there. I mean, when CDs came out, the original versions of the soundtracks, as far as like the short, concise versions, were released. I don't remember. I think A New Hope got a fairly basic one CD version of it. I know Empire and Return of the Jedi did. Matter of fact, hang on one second. Right here. I'll just bring it into view. This version of Empire on CD was a duplicate of the version that was out on vinyl, and it was when it came out, it was definitely well received. I mean, for me, because I played the death out of the original soundtrack, the vinyl, which I don't have the vinyl of this anymore. And then there were other fun little, moving back and forth, as you can tell from where my CDs are and things. Then there was another fun little series of releases of the soundtracks on 8-track, which I have here, and that's fun. 8-track was kind of trying to go with cassette technology that CDs eventually came around to, with jumping back and forth between chapters, but they were static chapters in the sense that each button you pushed was giving you access to the sound, to the tracks. Now, one of the benefits the 8-track did give us is that we had a little bit more selection. There were a little bit more tracks on the 8-track than there were on the CD and the original vinyl. They were able to squeeze more on there. But again, you're limited to the confines of this technology. At the time, it sounded good, but we didn't really have high fidelity systems for 8-track. I mean, it was pretty much an old Radio Shack or RCA 8-track that was coming out through if it was a set of speakers, they were small, or maybe some portable 8-track players that just had one speaker on them. So, yeah, you get to listen to it, but you weren't really hearing much of it. But then, when the CDs come out, these are the original, often masters of the original vinyl. I mean, they have to remaster them for CD as far as editing for time and authoring them to the CD, and trying to, as best they could, take advantage of the sound variation going from vinyl to CD. So you do kind of have to remaster that in the sense of equalization and compression and volumes that the CD is capable of, that vinyl was kind of inherently stuck with a more mid-rangey kind of sound, and it wasn't really carrying a lot of low end at the time. So CDs were able to maximize a little bit more of that. But here we go now with what we have in front of us. So up to this point, and other variations which I don't have were released, and that was it. And the reason that this set was a big deal, at least to me, was it was a limited set. It was a limited run of them, but also the quality was remastered up to the point where it sounded very much closer to the way the original theatrical productions or versions sounded, and they were then all kind of all together in one set, not having to fish around through your collection for the CDs. Now, granted, as we look at them here, and I'll get to these in a minute here, they're not admittedly, they're not as comprehensive as far as how many tracks and pieces of music are available on these as there are on the more current special edition releases that did put much more music from the movies into the discs, and that's cool. They've got that going for them. But these were this is just a special set, for me and for a lot of people because of just everything about it. So just kind of going over the set physically, the way it came, what's in front of us here. Obviously, it's a 4-disc set, Star Wars, Empire, Jedi, and then a set of bonus tracks, which, I get why they did it, but because they're saving time on the discs without having to compress them too much to fit them on, reducing the sound quality, or by adding 2 discs for each movie. They wanted to keep it simple, and they just said, we're going to put outtakes and previously unreleased tracks on this end disc, which a lot of these tracks then ended up on the special editions as part of the normal release. So, take them however you get them. But anyway, this was a really cool box set at the time. Physically, it came with a top and a bottom here. I'll get to the bottom. And using old school movie poster art on the front was very cool. Just basic stuff on the side panels with the name of the set and so forth, so you can see what it is. Nothing on the inside, just black cardboard, but pretty cool. The bottom here, obviously a little bit more involved with the name of all of the films. I get that in the frame here, and just some basic things on there as far as credits and what it is and so forth. But it's cool. And then the other side of it is the 2 trays that comprise both or the 4 discs, just 2 plastic trays, which is a cool setup. And a good sturdy cardboard with a plastic insert box, and then the booklet on the inside, which if we can hopefully see this well enough, the back reflecting the same art as the back, but the booklet is was basically at the time, again because of not having a lot of access to things on the internet like we do now, when things like this came out, they would include a lot of unseen pictures and artwork that was really cool to have, that you never saw before, literally, and variations of shots in the films, track listings of the film, of the movies themselves, little details about where they were recorded and so forth. And once we get past the basics of the movies and the bonus disc and the descriptions of them, then it gets into a basic overview that somebody had written about the music of the movies and what went into making them, and a lot of these behind the scenes pictures, a lot of anecdotal information. It's just very cool. It's a long kind of read, but it's very cool if you get them to kind of go through and looking at the history of everything. And these, again, at this point, these are a lot of pictures we've already seen a million times by now, but back then you didn't really see a lot of this stuff, so I appreciate that for that. Little black and white pictures of the scoring sessions and so forth. So a very cool booklet that came with it. But then the discs are here, and these are very very Spartan, Metallica Black Album-ish, where you can barely see it. It's a black cover with a black printed logo of the film and a little description of it at the bottom, and a little original artwork piece on the disc. Just basic information on the film. This is just an insert. It wasn't an actual J card or anything, so nothing to that really. And then the back is your track listing and time indexes and so forth. And Empire Strikes Back, same thing. The printed black logo and some Empire artwork on the disc. Recording information. Return of the Jedi, same thing. A little harder to see that. Some artwork, which I don't really recall seeing that anywhere else before, but it's pretty cool. And again, the track listing. And it's also interesting to kind of see how the track listing on these changing over the years as they've renamed them through the releases of the films. If I'm not mistaken, the final Duel and Into the Death Star was renamed, I believe, Clash of the Lightsabers on the special editions. And some things were kind of renamed to just kind of better fit how it was being placed chronologically on the discs. Then, of course, the bonus disc with all three of the logos printed, and the larger track listing. A lot of stuff on here, and curiously, some of the things that they left off on here in a as a bonus track was kind of interesting. Why the like as an example, the Cantina Band was left on here as a bonus track, and instead of putting on the film proper. Laptinek from Jedi, again, that wasn't a alternate take of the film. It was a prominent piece in the film. I think that was kind of everything there. But a lot of these alternate tracks, alternate versions, alternate takes, and some unreleased things, it's pretty cool to listen to them. And you get just a good idea of where everything was going. But these, again, for me, what I really liked about them was just they finally got the sound of the films, or the sound of the soundtracks, to what I felt were very close to the original theatrical sound that I remember in the theaters. It wasn't just that it sounds good; it it sounded like I remember these films and the music sounding in the theater. Um, and so that helps to complete the experience. But um, so the box set has been discontinued for a long time, and I was just kind of poking around one day on Evil Bay, and this one showed up, and it was a great price, and I could not say no to it. And of course, to preserve them, I as much as I talk against digital music sources because it's a robbery for musicians, including myself. I do utilize it, but I back it up with physical product that I actually own of it. So I would take these discs and at one point would rip the MP3s off them, put them on my. I never really had a dedicated MP3 player, but my cell phones at the time, or like a burned MP3 disc that would play in my car stereo, that I could just shove all of these tracks on because they weren't taking up as much space because of the file. But now, of course, our streaming services, have all of these things on there, and I do use them when I'm out and about in the car. But if I can find these versions of them, I'll listen to them. But whenever I'm here at home, if I get, if I'm just wanting to chill and have something on, I'll break out. I'm usually using my my CD player and my computer on my PC because I have a pretty good speaker surround sound setup from there. So that gives me that. But I'll listen to these for sure. But it's okay if you own the real physical product to go ahead and just consume it on in a digital format somewhere, even though it's going to be an inferior sound quality from why you're getting these things to begin with. But I'm going off on another tangent there. So yeah, I just wanted to bring this up tonight just because it's something I've been looking at and talking to myself about. And hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you are motivated to possibly go out and find yourself a set, you won't be disappointed. And just to have it and to have the last version of the film's soundtrack the way they sounded before special editions came in and turned everything upside down. So yeah, there you go. Like and subscribe. Always keep it civil. Have a great day. Bye.